Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into some pretty fascinating territory today, the Illuminati. We've got tons of great research lined up, mostly from Wikipedia, so let's unpack this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think you'll be surprised to learn that the truth about the Illuminati is way more captivating than all the crazy stories that surround them.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing how this group, a relatively small and short-lived one from 18th century Bavaria, has become this global symbol of, hidden power and secret agendas.
It really is. They've transcended history and become almost mythical. But before we get into all the conspiracies and speculation, let's rewind. Go back to the beginning. Back to 1776, a year, of course, synonymous with revolution. But not just in America.
Right. On May 1st, 1776, while the American colonies were declaring their independence, over in Bavaria, a law professor named Adam Weishaupt was founding the Order of the Illuminati.
May 1st, 1776. Wow, talk about a date packed with historical significance. So who was this Weishaupt guy? What made him decide to create a secret society in such a tumultuous time?
Well, Weishaupt was a really interesting figure. As a professor of law, he was immersed in all the ideas of the Enlightenment. And he became super disillusioned with the power of the church, especially the Jesuits. He saw them as these roadblocks to reason and progress.
So he was kind of rebelling against the establishment, embracing those new ideas of reason, knowledge, and individual liberty that were sweeping through Europe at the time.
Exactly. He wanted the Illuminati to fight against superstition, to reduce the church's influence on public life, and to, fight against abuses of power in general. Their goals, at least initially, were pretty idealistic.
So it's interesting that a group with these, noble aims would choose to operate in secrecy. You'd think transparency would have been a better strategy to spread their message, right?
It's one of the great ironies of the Illuminati. All that secrecy, the aliases, the coded messages, it was all intended to protect them. But it actually ended up fueling the very conspiracy theories that would eventually kind of come back to bite them.
Wow, it's like they inadvertently created the monster that would consume them. But what did they actually do? Who were these Illuminati members, and how was this whole thing structured?
So in the beginning, it was a pretty small and focused group. They mainly recruited from universities, mostly students. Weishaupt himself led the whole thing. He used the alias Spartacus.
Spartacus. Okay, so not exactly the shadowy cabal pulling the strings of global power like some people imagine, huh?
Not in those early days, no. But things would change. And that's where another fascinating character enters the picture. A guy named Adolf Nigg, a charismatic Freemason. He joined the Illuminati around 1780.
Okay, Freemasons, now we're getting into some serious secret society territory. What was the deal with the Illuminati and the Freemasons?
It's actually a pretty complex relationship. Initially, Weishaupt thought Freemasonry was too expensive and restrictive, which is part of why he started his own thing. But later, he realized that Freemasonry had this massive network and tons of influence,
So he thought, hey, why not tap into that? Infiltrate the Freemasons, learn their secrets, and maybe even use them to grow his own order.
It was a pretty bold move, and one that would have some big consequences. He actually joined a Masonic lodge himself, got involved in their rituals, and gained their trust.
Talk about a long game. But the Freemasons couldn't have been too thrilled about this, right?
No, they weren't. As the Illuminati tried to gain control of certain Masonic lodges from within, tensions started rising. There were accusations of infiltration and manipulation.
A secret society within a secret society, each trying to outmaneuver the other. Sounds like a recipe for some serious drama.
You got it. And these power struggles would be a big part of the Illuminati's downfall, along with, of course, the growing suspicion of the Bavarian authorities.
Right, the authorities. So what was it that finally brought the Illuminati down? Was it all that secrecy and the whole Freemason situation that did them in?
It was a combination of factors, both internal and external. It seems like their own success, infiltrating different parts of Bavarian society, might have actually been their undoing.
Wait, so they were actually achieving their goals? Spreading their influence and challenging the status quo? That's an interesting twist.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all that visibility, plus their increasingly outspoken criticism of things like the monarchy and the church, made them a target. They became too vocal, too influential for the authorities to just ignore.
And I'm guessing all those whispers of conspiracy didn't help either. So did the government have actual evidence against them, or was it more like paranoia and fear of the unknown?
It was a bit of both, actually.
Right.
Remember Nigg, the Freemason guy? Well, he and Weishaupt had a huge falling out.
Oh, right. Nigg, the one who revamped the whole Illuminati structure.
Yeah. He felt like his contributions weren't appreciated or something.
Which, knowing Weishaupt and his controlling tendencies, isn't all that surprising, I guess.
Yeah, no, not really. And anyway, so Nig, he leaves the Illuminati, but not quietly.
Oh, this should be good. What'd he do?
He took a bunch of, like Illuminati documents with him when he left and threatened to like expose everything unless they met his demands.
Oh, wow, blackmail. Did he actually release the documents?
No, not in the end. But the damage was already done. Like, the Bavarian government got wind of it.
Oh, I bet they weren't too happy. Secret societies, threats.
Hmm.
Not exactly a good look in those days. So what happened? Did they shut the Illuminati down?
Yep, that's exactly what happened. In 1785, they issued an edict banning all secret societies. The Illuminati obviously included. Weishaupt. Well, he got scared and actually fled Bavaria to avoid getting, arrested or whatever.
So that was it for the Illuminati. End of the story. Just a failed experiment in Enlightenment thinking.
Not quite. This is where things get even more interesting. See, the government, they had seized a bunch of documents during the crackdown, right?
Right. You'd think they would just destroy them, wouldn't you?
You'd think so, but they actually published them.
Publish them? Why would they do that?
I guess they thought it would, like discredit the Illuminati, justify their actions.
So they basically revealed all their secrets to the world.
Pretty much. But here's the crazy part. Publishing the documents didn't have the effect they were hoping for.
It didn't?
Nope. It actually backfired, big time.
Wow. So instead of putting an end to the Illuminati, they actually made them more mysterious.
Exactly. People started taking those documents out of context, misinterpreting them. And that's when the truly wild conspiracy theories began to take off.
It's amazing how sometimes trying to bury something just makes it more powerful.
Right. So it was actually after the Illuminati were, officially gone, that they really started to become this legendary, shadowy force in people's minds.
Okay, so who's responsible for turning the Illuminati into this global conspiracy boogeyman?
Well, there were a few key figures, but two authors in particular had a huge impact.
Okay, give me the names.
Augustin Birol and John Robison, both very conservative writers who saw the Illuminati as this huge threat.
Threat to what, exactly?
Well, to everything, basically, to religion, government, the whole social order.
So they took this small, short-lived group and basically turned them into this monstrous enemy.
Exactly. Birol even claimed that the Illuminati orchestrated the French Revolution.
The French Revolution? Whoa. That's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah, talk about a conspiracy theory. It's like they became this convenient scapegoat for everything people were afraid of.
And what about this Robison guy? What was his contribution to all this?
He wrote a book called Proofs of a Conspiracy. And in it, he portrayed the Illuminati as this massive global network of revolutionaries and atheists.
Bent on, destroying the world as we know it. Typical conspiracy stuff.
Yep. And the thing is, a lot of people bought into it.
Really? These books were that influential?
Hugely influential. They were translated into multiple languages, spread like wildfire, and their claims just kept getting repeated and embellished.
It's incredible how powerful a story can be, even when it's not even true.
Absolutely. It's like, even though the real Illuminati were long gone, their legend had taken on a life of its own, and it just kept growing.
So this fear, the suspicion of the Illuminati, it didn't just fade away, it kind of lingered.
Oh, it definitely lingered. It went underground for a while, but never truly disappeared. The Illuminati had become this enduring symbol of everything hidden, everything conspiratorial.
Which brings us to, well, their legacy. How did this group, which in reality was more about intellectual debate than global domination, become this, cultural phenomenon?
Yeah, it's kind of wild, isn't it? I mean, the real Illuminati, they were a product of their time. But the story, their story, has been so distorted and amplified over the centuries.
They've basically become a synonym for any shadowy, powerful, secret organization.
Right, and I think it speaks to this very human desire to find explanations, to try and make sense of a world that often feels chaotic and out of control.
Yeah, if there's a secret cabal pulling the strings, at least someone's in charge. But why the Illuminati? Why not some other historical group? What makes their stories so enduring?
I think part of it has to do with the timing. The late 18th century was a period of massive change, social upheaval, revolutions, new ideas.
The world was being turned upside down.
Right, and the Illuminati became this focal point for anxieties about all that change.
So they were blamed for basically everything.
Pretty much. And then there's secrecy, the aliases, the rituals. It all added to the mystique.
It's a reminder that even people who think of themselves as rational can fall prey to conspiracy theories.
Especially in times of uncertainty and fear.
It's important to remember, though, that the real Illuminati weren't masterminds behind, some global conspiracy. They were just a group of people who tried to challenge the status quo.
Exactly. They didn't achieve world domination. They weren't responsible for the French Revolution.
Yeah.
Their story is interesting for sure, but it's not what the conspiracy theories make it out to be.
But even knowing that, there's still something fascinating about the idea of them, isn't there?
Definitely. And they've certainly left their mark on our culture and imagination. Maybe not in the way they intended, but...
But a mic nonetheless. And that actually brings us to a whole other layer of the Illuminati legacy, their presence in popular culture.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. Movies, books, music, you name it. It is, isn't it? Like, knowing what we know about the real Illuminati, it's still kind of fun to think about, all those conspiracy theories.
I know. It's like this idea that there's this secret knowledge out there, this hidden power controlling everything. It's hard to resist.
It's like our brains are just wired for it. Like we crave explanations,
Yeah.
even if they're not true. And a world with secret societies and conspiracies, it's just more exciting.
Yeah, like a world with a secret plot is more interesting than just random chaos.
Yeah.
But that kind of brings us back to this idea of legacy. How did this whole Illuminati thing, the myth of them, seep into pop culture so much? I mean, they're literally everywhere.
It's crazy, right? I mean, they've gone from this historical footnote to this, like, full-blown cultural phenomenon.
Exactly. Movies, books, music, video games, they become like shorthand for anything mysterious or conspiratorial.
And it's always that eye of providence symbol, too. That eye in the triangle.
Oh yeah, the all-seeing eye. Isn't that on the US dollar bill too?
Yep. Which, of course, has fueled all sorts of theories about the Illuminati and the founding of America, which, of course, is total nonsense, but a good story, nonetheless.
It's definitely a good story. But it shows how these conspiracy theories can take something completely out of context and just run with it.
Right, and that's the danger, I think. You start seeing patterns everywhere, connecting dots that maybe shouldn't be connected.
It's like you said before, it becomes about the narrative, not the truth.
Right. And to be fair, I think most of the time when we see the Illuminati in pop culture, it's not meant to be taken, like, seriously.
Yeah, it's more like a playful nod to the whole conspiracy thing, like a way to make a story more interesting.
It's shorthand for power, influence, maybe even just like a general sense of mystery.
And honestly, it's way more fun to think about a world controlled by a secret society than to think about, like, the boring complexities of real-life politics.
100%.
So, in a weird way, the Illuminati have actually achieved a kind of immortality through pop culture, even though the real group didn't last very long.
They've become this symbol, this archetype that taps into our deepest anxieties and fascinations. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
It really is. It shows how powerful stories can be, even if, or maybe especially if, they're not entirely true.
Right. The line between history and myth is way more blurry than we often realize.
Well, this has been a truly fascinating deep dive. Thanks to your insights and, of course, the listener-submitted research, I think we've managed to separate fact from fiction when it comes to the Illuminati.
It's been fun. It's a reminder that history is full of surprises, and that even groups that fade away can still leave this, like, huge cultural footprint.
Absolutely. So the next time you see that all-seeing eye or hear someone whisper about the Illuminati, think about what we've talked about today. Remember that the truth is often way more interesting than the myth.
And maybe even ask yourself, why are we still so fascinated by this group centuries later? What does that say about us?
That is a great question. And who knows, maybe we'll do a whole other deep dive to explore those answers someday. But for now, thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of the Illuminati. And please, keep those research requests coming. You never know what fascinating rabbit holes we'll discover together.